So welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing. And in this video I'm going to be talking about one of the fights, well, the main fight I should say, which is taking place this weekend at Portman Road, which sees the headline fight between Fabio Wardley and Justis Huni. So for those that don't know, this fight is going to be taking place live at Portman Road, which is Ipswich Town's football stadium, and it's going to be live streamed live on DAZN. So initially, this fight was meant to be Jarrell Miller versus Fabio Wardley, or vice versa, depending on how you wanted to say it. But Miller obviously got injured, so obviously we had to look for a replacement within 6 weeks, and that's where Justis Huni steps in. Now, for most hardcore fans, probably don't know much about Justis Huni. I've seen him fight a few times. Personally, I'm not his greatest fan. I think he does the basics really well, but it doesn't really look exciting or doesn't really look devastating in terms of, doesn't look like he could probably cause much havoc to certain fighters, if you know what I'm trying to say, but that's in a polite way. But anyhow, Justis Huni, 12-0 currently with 7 KOs to his name. He's 6'4", 26 years of age, and is an Australian boxer. Orthodox, started his career back in 2020. Currently, number 1 best Australian heavyweight boxer around, and number 10 in the world according to BoxRec. Okay, now in terms of his amateur pedigree, he had 40 bouts in total, winning 35, losing 2. So I'm guessing a few of his bouts, I haven't seen his record, were probably disqualifications or whatever, but that's his amateur record. But yeah, he's been in there with a few names that some hardcore fans will probably know, people like Kevin Lerena, Andrew Tabiti as well. Lerena is probably the biggest name that he's been in there with, but in terms of that Lerena fight, he did win. It was a 10-round unanimous decision, but it was a tough fight for him, and quite close on the cards, I'd say. He won by split decision, well, unanimous decision, but pretty much for most people, you know what I mean, they thought it was closer than what the actual scores were, and that's against a smaller heavyweight, not someone as powerful or as big, I should say, as Fabio Wardley. But as I said, his style's not exciting, and he does the basics well, which is key, and that's all you need to do in boxing. But I don't feel as if he's going to cause too much trouble to Fabio Wardley in this fight. For me, when I'm looking at it, he does have the better boxing pedigree because he's got a bigger amateur record. He does all the basics fundamentally really well, so he could try and outbox Fabio Wardley, but for me, I think it's the power which is going to be the difference. Now, for those that don't know Fabio Wardley, but you should know who he is, currently 30 years of age, 6'5", with a record of 18 wins, 17 KOs out of his 18 wins, and only 1 draw on his record as well. So he's a massive hitter, big puncher with a 94.4% KO rate as well. Now, he started his career very late as a professional. He did a couple of white collar boxing fights prior to turning pro, no amateur record, but he started his career back in 2017. Orthodox boxer, as I mentioned. He's from Ipswich, so this is his hometown, and he's currently ranked, according to BoxRec, number 5 best British heavyweight, currently. People that are above him in the British heavyweight rankings are people like Daniel Dubois, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Lawrence Okoli, and then you've got Fabio Wardley. Just below him are people like Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Richard Riakporhe as well somehow, I don't know how, and then obviously Joe Joyce and Moses Atauma. Then in terms of the world rankings, BoxRec has him down at number 8, and I think the official rankings is somewhere, I think it's within the top 15, don't quote me. I'm just going to go onto my internet a second, let me just double check. Yeah, so Fabio Wardley, I'll have a look at those rankings in a second in terms of boxing.live, but yeah, massive puncher. the skill and the boxing pedigree lies quite comprehensively with Justis Huni, but for me, it's a 12-round fight, similar to how Deontay Wilder used to fight when he was at his best. You're gonna get hit, and Fabio Wardley's gonna land on you, and it's about how you react once he lands on you, because he just goes into that Super Saiyan mode, and once he goes into that mode, he's kind of unstoppable, really. But yeah, so I'm just on boxing.live now. He's ranked number 10 in the Ring Magazine ranking, sorry. But also as well in the other official rankings, just double checking here. Just bear with me a second. So ranked number 1 in the WBA. Okay, so that's his highest ranking. So obviously he needs this fight to hopefully secure a potential world title fight, if at the end of the year, depending on who wins out of Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk, and hopefully there's no rematch between the pair, he will hopefully have a world title shot, whether that be a vacated bout or maybe up against the winner. So he really needs to win this. But for Justis Huni, if he wins it, he's in a phenomenal position, because in terms of rankings wise, he's nowhere near ranked in the Ring Magazine rankings, and I take their rankings more official than the governing bodies, because the governing bodies, it all depends on who the fighter pays their fees to a lot of the time, and if they've got a half decent record, they'll just get propped up in terms of the rankings. But Justis Huni is ranked number 7 in the WBA, so if he wins this, he should pretty much move up the rankings. If not, probably take Fabio Wardley's number 1 position as well. So this is a no-brainer for him. He's going to get paid quite handsomely because he stepped in, but he's also potentially, if he wins, get a world title shot as well. But for me, I see it going one way, and that's the way of Fabio Wardley. I see him winning by knockout. I'm not going to predict a round or anything, but I just feel that once he either gets frustrated or he gets clipped and he feels that he's hurt, or maybe that he's down on the scorecards, he's going to go to that next level and hopefully unleash and, you know what I mean, let his hand go and catch Justis Huni. Now, don't get me wrong, if Justis Huni could take his power and somehow survive, I think he'd probably win on point, but I can't see it going to that place, if you know what I'm trying to say. So I feel as if it's going to be a knockout for Fabio Wardley, and I just prefer his style. I think he's got a little bit more to offer the heavyweight division compared to Justis Huni, no offense, because there's better fights there for Fabio Wardley. But Justis Huni, as I said, is no mug. But what's crazy is if it was Moses Itauma versus Justis Huni, I'm banking on Moses Itauma right now. I'd have Moses Itauma in there to knock him out. So, and the thing is, a good fight would have been between Itauma and Wardley. Obviously, that's not going to happen because of both being Frank Warren, and Frank Warren wants to push them both for a world title. But as I said, if it was Itauma fighting Huni, then I'm going to be going for a knockout for Itauma, and he's got that raw power similar to Wardley as well. But also on this event, which you'll be surprised to hear, is that Dillian Whyte is going to be returning. Currently, he has no opponent named, but hopefully they could get an opponent to maybe give him some rounds, because again, there's a couple decent fights left for him. Anthony Joshua is probably the main one, and maybe that trilogy, I should say, between him and Derek Chisora as well. But they're like the main fights which are pretty much taking place on this card this weekend. But in terms of other boxing news as well, we know that the winner of this fight is potentially going to be fighting the winner between Kubrat Pulev and Michael Hunter. Now, in terms of both guys, for me, I'd have to go with Michael Hunter. I just feel as if he's probably just got a little bit more left to offer the boxing game, whereas Pulev, if he was younger, I'd probably bank with him, but he's on the older side. He's probably late 40s now, if not late, maybe early 40s. I just don't know what he's got left. He's not as active. Yes, he beat, was it Char last time out, but Char ain't special. You know what I mean? So I think if a half decent Michael Hunter turns up, I'm going to be putting all my eggs in one basket and saying Michael Hunter wins this. In terms of other boxing news, according to Boxing Scene, O'Hara Davis is returning to the ring in June as well, which is a surprise because after his last fight with Adam Azim, he lost and he retired. You know what I mean? But he is returning on June the 13th in Ghana. He's going to be fighting a guy from Tasmania or Tanzania, something like that, called Mohammed Al-Zini. Never heard of him. Don't know who he is, but apparently he's only having this fight because it's in his homeland where his mum and dad were from, and he obviously wants to go back there to showcase his skills to people in that country as well. But the interesting thing is that he hasn't ruled out a comeback after this fight, which is good to see as well because um, is a very ecstatic personality, and he's got a lot to offer the game in terms of um, being an opponent for maybe up and comers, but also he's got that excitement, I'd probably say, about him, because when he does talk, he does sell fights, and that's what you want in your fighter. You want someone who could sell tickets and put bums on seats, and that is him. That is him for sure. Just having a look as well in terms of what other news is out there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it that I want to talk about for now. There is one more thing actually before I switch off. A young heavyweight who's turning pro in June called Leo Atang. People are a lot excited about this kid and are saying that he's a prospect for the future. So it'd be good to see how he performs in his debut, which is going to be taking place in Manchester on July the 5th on the undercard of Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubanks. So yeah, watch out for him, and hopefully he could have a bit to offer the heavyweight division. But as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe and comment. Bless.